Okay, this is David de Hilster. Hey, how are you? Um, I appreciate everybody coming by. Got a couple people, I think, watching. I see that it's going live. I've not tried this. This is sort of the live one where it's just live. Um, anyways, I know it takes a little bit of time to get this going, but I plan to do this a little easier. I always plan ahead usually to get this going, but I've been away for a little while. I know I've had a lot of people actually not too happy about that, but that's good in the sense of people are watching and interested in having these continue. Some people were saying, "Hey, I missed this, so I have this on the computer. I'm going to try to get it so that we're running smoothly here." But it looks like I, in fact, had a couple of viewers in my tests, so I do know it's getting out there. I do see it now, and I plan to be here for about an hour, hour and a half. Depends on how it goes and the people showing up. But as I get ready here and monitor all this, I think I've got it. And welcome. It's been quite a bit of time since I've done a live stream. The reason is because you can see Samba. It's one of my community work things, and my wife and I have a Samba group. You can go and see what we did. SAMBALA, sambala.org. And you can take a look on the internet if you're curious as to what I do for sort of my community work and fun. So that's where I've been busy, and I've had a couple Fridays, especially it's been a couple Fridays since I've done anything. It takes a while to recuperate from. We have actually a performance group of well over 100 people, so there's a lot to do. Anyways, I am constantly reading the news, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get back. My Friday nights are open again. I'm here by myself in the house. My wife and daughter are. Oh, you can see. Look at that. That's my other computer there. But I'll put that over here to the side a bit. I like to keep this less cluttered. I do have a green screen. It's hard to put a green screen in this place. You can see that I do that once in a while. But anyways, hello, my one person that's here right now. Again, most people are looking for me at 9 o'clock, but I've decided just to go ahead and do this. For those people who are watching this recorded, which I do find out there's quite a lot of people that do that. I don't want to spend a lot of time just sort of rambling, waiting for people. Sometimes I guess they'll flip ahead, and so they don't have to put up with all that stuff. But so I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm going to be doing. I have been looking. I look at news quite a bit on Google, even though Google's not. It used to be a lot more unbiased than it is today, mostly politically. But the science is okay. I mean, it's still got a lot of the mainstream science, so it's really good to look at, and you can actually click on physics. And I'm going to go through a lot of. There's just been so much stuff in the news, and a lot of times it's confusing, or people want to know what do we think outside the mainstream. So that's one of the things I want to cover during these talks, sort of like do the news and go through. I usually try to pick one that I think is really worth looking at. Lately, I've been picking Wikipedia, but I think just getting in the news is, I think, a interesting way to get people interested and get understanding about how to think critically. But I want to welcome everybody. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, since I know that it takes some time for people to gather, especially when I don't announce anything. But I said, what the heck? Let's go and do it. But for the last couple of weeks, I've been away from physics. I've been away from the CMPS. A lot of people are trying to figure out what am I doing. But at times you get like, it's not frustrated, but you just wonder, how long you can go on, sort of, not in a vacuum, but keep plugging away. I've been doing this since the early 90s, since I met Dr. Carazani. Thank goodness he walked into, well, his son-in-law walked into my wife's store, my Brazilian wife's store in Long Beach, California, and that's how I got into all this. But, at times you just wonder, I think I'm glitching here. Yeah, I'm glitching a little bit. That's why I want to try this out. But I think it's because I have the browser up. Maybe if I take the browser down, maybe if I look at what I've got going up here. I apologize again for everybody who's just coming in and those people who are tuning in who are not watching it live, but I want to make sure. Let me look at my computer here and get that down. I got a computer that's a little bit older. I've got a better laptop, and I need to start using that. And because I think you're going to see me glitching. I'm watching over here on my phone, and I can see that. But hey, Lisa, how are you doing? I've been watching your stuff too. It's interesting. Hey, what do you mean you don't find anything else like this? You won't. That's the question you have? Okay. You want to start out that way? Oh, maybe this is a person in disguise. A person who doesn't reveal who they really are. No, there isn't anything like this, and there are people who say that they're like this, and they are not. And of course, you can say that with almost anything, but I think the difference is I don't have really an agenda. I have my own theory with my father, but my agenda here is to get as many people as we can critically thinking, and I think that's very unique. The way I look at things is very unique. What's different about my channel compared to somebody else's, I know one particular, maybe this is the person asking the question, is that I try to give you more information. I try to get you thinking. I don't sit around and say ether's theories are wrong, even though I don't personally subscribe to them. I don't go around telling people that so-and-so's theory is wrong. For instance, some people who claim that maybe their channel's like mine. I think that's the biggest difference. I'm not a big EU person. I'm not an electric universe person, but I absolutely applaud these people. I think we all need to band together. I think the other thing that's different about this channel is that I have no problem, because the website that I started, but our organization's working on. I'm working on mostly which is Science Woke. One of the things, one of the articles which I've said that I've written, which is a seminal work, I think, of mine in the last couple decades. I'm not saying that it's great work, but it has a great observation that we are absolutely in the Kuhnian stage of having more than one theory out there, and we're in the theory, what do they call it? Theory revolution, model revolution. I'm sorry. So the model revolution. So that's very different. So I applaud all dissidents. I applaud anybody who has a model who's trying to make it the best they can. I don't criticize other people for that. I don't argue emotion. I don't sit there and swear at people or yell at people. I sometimes marvel at how stupid sometimes the mainstream can be. But I think this is very different. I think it's a dignified channel. I'm not afraid to call people out. I'm not afraid to go through things that people think, but they're not going to put online because, I don't know, reputations or whatever. So very, very different. Okay, Prince Polka, you say there are thousands of dissidents, but you're the only one we'll find. I think I know who this is. I don't know, Polka, if you may, because I know a person who has a channel that's called me names, and it's okay, because every time he calls me names, I get people toward my channel. I've been getting 3 or 4 subscribers a day. But the it says you allow people. That's okay. Well, let's see. You're the only one we'll find. Well, like this, yeah, absolutely. You're not going to find anybody like this. We have people like my father who's talking about only the particle model. We have um, Nick Percival, who talks about time and relativity, special relativity. Guy's really brilliant. I forget what. I don't know if he went to Harvard or something like that. He's a very brilliant guy. Also, we have Jeff Yee, who I love his model, but I don't agree with lots of things he says. Not because I don't think his model's great. His model's great. I mean, it's a great model. But some of the fundamental things I don't, believe in. So, or I don't agree with. But who am I to say? I mean, that's the difference. So you're not going to find anything like this. There's just nothing. I can't find it. There are thousands of dissidents. Go to our database, folks. Go to db.naturalphilosophy.org. On the front page, you're going to have 2,400 dissidents that we've cataloged, maybe more than that. The scientists that we have in our database are beyond 3,000. Some of them, we have a database of 13,000 pieces of information. There's a guy in France, Christiani or somebody like that. He has put together a spreadsheet of 4 or 5 or 6,000 dissident scientists around the world. None of them are going on. Most of them are not doing this. And I think the number one reason is why people aren't doing this is because they're busy on their own work. They don't have this ability to look. The only other person that I think could do this and do this extremely well is my great friend Greg Volk. Now Greg Volk and I we disagree about a lot of stuff, but there's one thing we both agree on, and that is these scientists that are working outside that I am talking about, that I represent. I'm representing them. That's why I love their work. That's why, to me, he would be the only other person I think that would have the ability, way better than me. I mean, he would be. I'd love to have him have a channel. I've talked to him about it, but he knows more about dissident work than I do. He will run rings around me, Greg Volk. He and I put the database together. So, but anybody else there, I see one channel that sort of does this, but in my opinion, it misses the mark in a lot of ways, in just a lot of ways. I mean, I'm not going to go into it because, first of all, I admire the person because they're out there, they have their own theory, and even though their language is crass, even though they've called me every name in the book, that's their problem. But I will still applaud them 100% on them being dissident voices out there and going against the mainstream and saying, hey, I'm trying to find a greater truth. Even though, in my opinion, that's why I'm gaining subscribers, I think. And I've hung out with these people. I'm hanging out with, in my opinion, the brightest minds on the planet. It's phenomenal what you know. And once you know these things, it's a different world. It's like we play in a whole different space. I mean, I'm going to go through some articles today, and you see me do that. We all, one of the things is Raymond Gallucci, one of my favorite scientists in our group. He doesn't have his own theory. He says he just can't concentrate enough on one thing, and he likes to just go around bouncing around trying people's ideas, trying our theory out or somebody else's theory and trying to put it to the test or whatever. We were eating lunch a while back. I think it was myself, Ray Gallucci, and Bruce Nappy, another super brilliant mind. And we were all just sitting around eating lunch, and we were talking about how we can't stand to watch the Discovery Channel. I know I've got some questions here. I will do that. We just can't stand it. I mean, I sit there and I'll turn it on just for fun, and then they'll start talking about the universe, and they'll start talking about things that are just, so off, so wrong. And the reason, it's not because we disagree with them and we just come up with our own ideas. We've looked at them. That's why I think this channel is eventually going to grow to hundreds of thousands of people. It's going to, because people are tired of crap. They're tired of this theoretical mumbo jumbo that the what I'm starting to call now. I think I like this big science. Big science is out there, and they sit there and push this garbage on us. I mean, you go back and watch my videos I just did recently. Mainstream science is screwed up because of, and the first one is photons. That one's going really well. There's a few of my videos that go de Hilster viral. I wish I had millions of people see it, but on my terms it is. And the one on the photon, I mean, it's absurd. So we hang out in this different world. We've spent decades looking at the problems. That's the thing. Relativity is a good one to start with because it's so fantastical. Oh, as you get closer to the speed of light, your mass increases. And then when you start talking to them, then they wave their hands and freezing and glitching there. They wave their hands and they just, oh, no, that's not really what's happening. We have to have general therapy, whatever. It's just, anyways, no channel out there like this. Let me go down and read some of these here. I'm going to go back there. Prince Polka, thanks for the clarification. I agree now when I get what you mean. Okay, cool. Very good. I have not called you names. Oh, and you're not the guy I think you are. There's a guy out there who will come into this, and I know sometimes that he's watching, so I figured he's just lurking about. I don't know why I'm glitching. Come on, stop. I got to take. I'm going to take a look at these. I got to go do it on a better computer, folks. I apologize. Anyways, let's go down here. Says, oh, there are a lot of people who take on the mainstream science to task. I know some of them from across the pond. Yeah, cool. I hope you are well tonight. Oh, so you guys must know each other. I'm the least scientific person. You're so wrong, Lisa. You are. Why are you here then? I mean, if you're so unscientific, what are you doing here? Obviously, you are loving science. In fact, that's one of the things that's really bizarre. One of the things that inspired me to do this channel was because in my meetings of people, when I'm at parties that talk about stuff that is not interesting, they talk about the weather and stupid things that I don't want to talk about. I'm 58, almost 59 now. I don't want to waste my time talking about garbage. I don't care. You know, if I go to a party and you want to talk about something that's like, I'll just sort of make an excuse, be rude, and people don't like me. I don't care. So then people say, what do you like? I say, I like physics and cosmology and like to talk about that. And then they start asking me questions. And what I found is that the average person, not people who are those who love science, but the average person, they are like, oh, you've got answers to things that's pretty cool. And so I found out that a lot of times the people who really understood it and were actually more engaging and actually more interesting to talk about were the people who, in fact, weren't the ones who read the pages. In fact, you know, read all the time about quantum mechanics and physics and gravitational waves and the Large Hadron Collider and all that stuff. I mean, it was amazing. So I said to myself, people, almost everyone likes science. I think if you were to ask the average person, wouldn't you want to know what everything's made out of? You know, a magnetic field. No one ever tells you what that is. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we really told you what gravity was and actually how it worked in the universe? Wouldn't that be cool? We could tell you what light is. And people go, yeah. But these are the people who I have the biggest problems. I handed my book. I don't have. I'm sure I'm going to turn around and try to find my book, and it's not here. Yeah, we got like I got so many versions of our book because you can print them out now. You know, I handed a book like this, the particle model of the universe, a particle model of the entire universe, the universe made out of all moving mass. And, you know, the people who really like it and who read it and who get it are the ones who aren't the ones who read about all the stuff and try to understand quantum mechanics. Because what happens is they have this investment in it and they go, okay, I've invested all this time, so I've got to use it. It's like, you know, I took lessons in violin, I got to play it. And so the idea that I handed my book to a guy at work, because I work in a pretty heady group. Okay, yeah, I do. I work in a supercomputing lab. Actually, we're architects of supercomputing supercomputers. I myself, specialization is human language and computers. But, you know, so they're bright people. So I said, hey, I got this book on physics. Oh, I love physics. Can you give me the book? So he came back and he gave it back. It was so funny. He comes to my cube because I work mostly from here, right here, from home. Because my boss is in Cork, Ireland. I don't know if he watches this. If he does, he'll probably fire me. No, actually, he found out, and they had a discussion whether to bring me into the group after they saw that I did the movie Einstein wrong. I think somebody probably watched it in our group, and everybody they go, "Wow, that's like good, and it's not. You're not crazy." And like that. Anyways, he took the book and he goes, sits it down. He goes, Dave, I can't even get past the first part on gravity. Gravity's a push? Are you crazy? He just gave it to me. It just walked away. So, Lisa, the moral of the story is the real audience for the next revolutions, and revolutions they are, and we already have them, are people like yourself, people who are curious and open-minded, who realize that big science. Yeah, I mean, you were like totally the inspiration for science woke, Lisa. I mean, my goodness. So give yourself credit. Let's see. Thank you, Lisa. Hello, Lisa Hausman. Dissident Science. I don't enjoy those shows at all either. I don't watch any TV. Yeah, it's pretty sick. I used to kind of worship celebrity sort of, but haven't several years now. Yeah. Lisa, well, I mean, I don't know as much as most who pop into the stream. Some of the questions sound more confusing than are possible answers. Thanks for yeah, absolutely. What if there aren't any particles, Jesse? Well, the way I look at it is this way: the definition of a particle is the Earth. The definition of a particle is galaxy. The definition of a particle includes even megastructures, like galaxies are swirling around each other. That is a particle. The G1 particle, or let's just call them what people call them, the photon, or the particles for light, or the graviton, the particles for gravity, whether the same or different. Nucleons, things that are in a nucleus, we know those exist. We know there's things that go around the nucleus, call it electron. All of those things are particles. So what it means is the idea, in my opinion, of what a particle is, it's particle, it's parts. Everything's parts. Everything you touch, everything you get to, you can't have an ultimate particle, in my opinion, and many people's opinion. If you do have an ultimate particle, go look up Dissident Science Ultimate Particle, and you will see it's got to be magical. You know, I've talked about this many times. So this is a particle because it's made of parts. Now, if this was not a particle, which I don't know what I would call it, because if it was the ultimate particle, maybe that's what you have to call it. The ultimate particle, which would be sort of oxymoronish, because you don't have... in the ultimate particles, it's called a particle which should be made up of parts. It isn't, so let's call it the God mass. I don't know what you're going to call it. But what would have to happen is this one particle by itself in the universe, you would have to imbue magical powers. The easiest one to do, which almost everyone does, except for very few people who have models. My dad and myself are one of those people that don't have that, and that's positive and negative charge. And those are just magical things you put on it so that they attract. You don't tell people how they do it. If I'm a person, just the average person, if I claim to be like Lisa, who claims to be just the average person and not smart when it comes to science, which isn't true, but what happens is you would say, well, that's nice. You put a plus on this and a minus on this. Tell me what's really happening. This is physics. Tell me what's really going on. And so the whole idea that the reason I call particles, no, this is a particle. The Earth's a particle. Now, am I a particle? Not in the sense, the difference is you have complex things made out of atomic structure. And in the universe, we think that, at least in our model, my father and I's model, we have a periodic table that's below our periodical table. So we have a periodical table that makes all these atoms, that makes all this variety you see, myself and everything you see. And that's one level in the universe. And we're standing on a particle, which is we call it the Earth. And who knows, it could be a part of an ether, or particles that are part of light for a whole set of beings above us. I don't know. I'm not into any religious things or transcendental meditation, or I'm no poo-pooing any of those things. I'm just saying I'm not. And so the idea that there are no particles, there'd be nothing. The universe would be empty. Well, there wouldn't exist. That's another one you should watch. It's based on Borchert's work. Watch on, why does the universe exist? The Dissident Science, why does the universe exist? You'll see my video on that, pretty much based on Borchert. So that answers your question, what if there aren't any particles? There's got to be mass is particles. And particles, again, I guess the way I would say it is, particles are those things that come together that make up other systems. I mean, human beings don't really make up a system. We are part of the system, but we're not all standing together in formation of some type of structural thing that then becomes a bigger thing. We're more like blood in a bloodstream running around or something like that. So I hope that answers your question. Hello from Philly. All right. Hey, how you doing? That's John Owens. Just Kowalski. Thanks. Good. I must have helped on that answer. Says, I'm new. Philly. See my profile picked. Okay, there you go. Lisa's there. Alrighty. What are your thoughts on neutron stars? Well, I will be honest with you. That's probably my biggest weakness is astronomy, stars, life cycles of stars. So I do apologize. If you have a more specific question about that, then maybe I can help you have an idea on that. We have some really great people in our group who know about that. I will be honest with you. I'm not going to win awards telling you about neutron stars or life cycles of stars. So, I'm yawning. People are going to yawn now. But I will say this, my general thing that I say to most people who are just average people wanting to know, hey, is big science pulling the wool over our eyes just like big pharma or big politics or the rich people in the world who are trying to control things and whatever. I'm not here to talk about that, but what I would say in the celestial astronomy, cosmological terms, no Big Bang. In fact, when people say, well, what do you mean there's no Big Bang? They talk about all the time. Most average person doesn't know why the Big Bang was even postulated. But the way I don't even talk about that. Why talk to an average person about something that you're going to argue away? Well, let me tell you why this is wrong, and then they sit there in their mind trying to figure it out, and then they get stuck on the model of the redshift, for instance, which is really where it comes from. So what I tell them, I said, okay, if there's a Big Bang, do we see programs talk about the death of stars? And they go, yeah, stars will die out like our sun and all that. Okay. Do you also see, did you ever hear like Carl Sagan or somebody say, we're made out of star stuff, that we're sort of recycled? And they go, yeah, yeah. He says, and have you heard of people talk about stars being born? Like this is a nursery for stars. I go, yeah, this is okay. Why, a Big Bang is sort of an explosion. It's sort of a one-way thing. Yet what we see is the birth and death of stars and planets all the time. We talk about them all the time. That doesn't sound like a Big Bang. That sounds more like a cyclic thing. Universal cycle theory by, if you like that idea, really great book, by Borchert and Puetz, Puetz, Universal Cycle Theory. Look it up. Great book. Should read it. Even if you are not Lisa, it's a great book for you. It blew my mind. That book blew my mind. It wasn't the cycle part. It was the neo-mechanical part, the infinite levels of the universe. That it was one of the 3 epiphany moments that I had in becoming a dissident or a science woke person. So sorry about that. That's what I dig, is you don't poo-poo but are glad to take in other models. Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, now that I take them in, I'll be happy. If you have your own model and you want to be featured on our Science Woke, because we have scientists, we have theories and models, we have problems in mainstream science, and we're writing all those things together so that a person like Lisa would be able to go to it and never had seen me, never knew about my channel, would go to it and says, wow, this is cool, can click around and get to the places that we want to get to people. I need somebody who's rich to give me time so I can work on this. I would probably need 6 months. I'm trying to do this, on the side with everything else. But yeah, absolutely. Who's to say which model's right, and who's to say that this whole idea that there can only be one model is really stupid. I mean, this is one of the things that I disagree with one of the people out there who claims to be doing something like I do, but they say they do not accept the idea that there could be more than one truth. Well, there's not more than one truth. There can be more than one model, and those models can work fine. There can be more than one computer programming language, and that can be fine. There can be more than one human language, and that works out fine. There can be more than one computer operating system, and there are lots of those. No one seems to worry about that. In fact, when you go to the store, you're going, well, which one do I want to buy? I would love to have a variety of things, and the universe is very complex. We have to describe the data we see, but certainly we have to be able to accept other people's models. Absolutely. Like I said, Jeff, he's a good example. Love his work. I was thinking along the lines of CERN, searching for the smallest particle. You got to be careful. Actually, if you really think about it and if you read about CERN, you're going to find out that you're hearing this less and less about, they call it the God particle that does this, but they're starting to sort of shy away from this idea. And I think it has to do with money. Because if you have the ultimate particle, you're going to be done. And you built this gigantic machine that smashes things together, and you have actually no idea what these signals are, because all you have are the trails of things. It's not like you get the bolts and the pieces coming off the car you're blowing up with a cannonball. You don't get them. All you get is trail of what you think it may be. But regardless, oh boy, I get cynical, don't I? Real fast. But regardless, those guys, their goal is to keep doing stuff and finding stuff. And if you're a physics nerd who was picked on in high school, and you want to come back and pretend that you understand things that when you talk about that no one can understand, even though the reason you can't understand them is because they're unintelligible, is that I'm going to get a particle named after me. That's the ultimate. the Higgs guy. It's made in the shade now. You can go around and lecture to a very small amount of people who care about it, which is really small, actually. And you live in that world, and you become unhappy real quick again, even though you have your $2 million and your name's in the book. You find out, like, in the back of their mind, they're probably really thinking, I do believe this. This all could be wrong. So CERN kind of freaks me out, frankly. Well, that's interesting, Lisa. I'd like to know about I'd like to know about what freaks you out about it. It'd be interesting to get a person who, like you say, you're not doing and sleeping and eating this like I have been doing for 20 years. And again, it has nothing to do with that I'm smarter. It's just that we get our own perspective. It's really great to have a new perspective on that. Are you Are you familiar with Halton Arp's work? Yes, look up Dissident Science, Halton Arp. I did an entire video on him. In fact, I'm very proud to say that I was the instigator, if not one of, well, I believe I was for him, but I'm not going to take all the credit because it was a work of the entire village, but we knew he was not very well. And so we had the Sanyak Award at the time from the MPA. We now just have a Lifetime Achievement Award from our organization. And we actually got it delivered to him. I think it was Peter Marquardt. Great mind. German scientist. He's got a PhD in, I don't know if it's physics, maybe, philosophy, but he's a great philosopher, actually. And we have a video somewhere of that. And I can't remember, someone sent it to me if I had to digitize. I have lost videos over the years. In fact, I lost videos from our presentations from our CMPS 2017. Just like the space shuttle, 6 things had to go wrong for me. I erased it in like 4 places thinking it was in this other place, and it wasn't. And so I've lost that and getting off the track. But the idea is we did have somebody record that and send that. Now whether we'll recoup it or I don't know. But Halton Arp, yeah, it was really sad to see him lose. If you don't know the story, look it up. Dissident Science, Halton Arp, or just look up Halton Arp, and you'll see he actually lost his time on a big telescope because he was refusing to go along with the redshift mainstream expanding universe. You can't go and do that, because if you do, then you are literally taken away. Your toys are taken away, and this is repression, basically. So anyways, yeah, Halton Arp's work is great. If you don't know about him, I can just briefly say he's the one who studied these very peculiar looking galaxies, because galaxies weren't all beautiful and spiral-like and pretty. So he would find and then there were quasars, and these quasars were really fast-moving, highly red-shifted objects. So they said, oh, it's moving really fast, and then they would be connected. If you look in the sky, and you would see galaxies, you would see quasars, and those quasars look a lot of times like they were attached or coming out of the center of the galaxies, which is one of the hypotheses that their galaxies will shoot these out. And the expansionists said, no way, because quasars are the oldest thing in the universe, because they have a huge redshift, and that means because they're expanding, and we're expanding. You got to remember, the universe is expanding. That is expanding squared. It's not going expanding. It's like an explosion in a steady state. It goes faster. So they said, well, Halton Arp, you are going against that, and that would then sort of destroy the basic premise of the Big Bang, and that ain't good. So we are taking your telescope time away. We are no longer letting you publish in places or give lectures. I think it was give talks. And very sad. I was very happy to be part of the group that recognized him. He was very emotional about it. And, like I say when I give awards now, I give them the awards people. I said, miss my elbow rest there. I think it's one of the saddest things of this whole thing is for me to see great scientists and great minds who are not recognized in their time, who pass away. We have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 of these great scientists that I have known in the past 2 decades that have passed away. Great minds. And that's why we made the database of who these people are and try to make it in our Wikipedia. Right, we try to get as much information as we can down about these people because we feel responsibility, because we know this is great science, that this will be the future, that people maybe a couple hundred years from now will look back on all these people and see the great work. So I always say, people, I'm sorry, this is for mankind who's asleep. Oh, wow, I've got to use that. Anyways, yeah, for who are asleep, and here's the award that you guys get. Wow, I haven't even gone to a webpage. This is working out. Thank you guys for showing up. Got 10 people watching. That's pretty cool. Thank you guys and gals. Check out Donald Scott's model for Birkeland currents. Yeah, I've been told to do that, and I need to look at it. I think I've actually heard him speak. Our organization and the Electric Universe organization were working closely together for 2 or 3 years. There was a falling out, not worth talking about. It's just going to be like one of those things like, oh, Bernie Sanders, he's wearing a $500 coat and he talks. Distraction. They still do great work, and there's some things, again, that I think a lot of people in our organization, the CMPS, would look a lot differently at. We are not. You got to remember, their group they claim that their group encompasses everything, and that's fine. They have absolutely the right to say that. Congratulations to them. They got critical thinkers left and right, but they're actually coming our way, and they have been the last 10 years. I've talked about that too. They used to laugh at us talking about Einstein wrong. Now they're out there like preaching that. Used to laugh at it, didn't talk too much about the expanding Earth. People now are talking about it more. Didn't have really I talk about gravity now. While Thornhill has his idea of what gravity could be. Anyways, the Birkeland currents and all that. I know there's scarring and catastrophism. I will be honest with you. I think catastrophism, of course, it exists. Absolutely. Catastrophes hit this planet. A big thing comes along and hits it. As for like for instance, Grand Canyon being an electrical event that was catastrophic, it could be. In my opinion, the evidence doesn't show that, but more power to people. So I could take a look at it and explain it. I mean, that's one of the other things I could do is explain other people's theories, even though I think there's some things wrong with them myself, and if I were to tell you my honest opinion, it would be different. But it's just like anything else. You need to learn about it. If you learn about terrible people in the past, whoa, EU, that's not what I was thinking about. In my mind, I was thinking like, we're studying Nazis, right? We're studying Nazis. We're not, EU people are not bad people. I'm saying when you study things that end up not being good or end up not being the model, or if it doesn't turn out to be the electric universe, is it still worth looking at and talking about? Absolutely, because there's no one said that, no one has conclusive proof that their model's better, their model's not the right model. I could wake up tomorrow and all of science is now embracing the electric universe. Could happen. I really don't have that emotional attachment because my father and I, when we work on our model, it's a great model. It's working. We didn't set out to even build one, but it's there. Anyways, rambling, aren't I? Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Because it's just listening and watched a presentation the other night about that. Okay. Is that like the Birkeland currents? Yeah, I'll take a look. But like I said, I'm not into the catastrophe as much. I think like I said, the evidence, it's, I try, at least in my own, one thing I do try to do is try to get to things that I think that are closer to a real truth, like infinity, expansion tectonics. Forget about it. You're not going to argue that away from me. Yes, there are a lot of electrical things in the universe, for sure. Electric Universe has some really great scientific works and great videos on certain things. They do even a great summary. One of the great things the Electric Universe does is to talk about the revisionists of history. It's great stuff. They got great voiceovers in the graphics, and it's really emotional. It's great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, they sidelined him. Yep. Houghton Arp, after he discovered redshift is not related to distance. Yeah. Think about that, huh? I've been learning about Arp. I couldn't believe how yeah. But he's not the only one, folks. He's not the only one. Not the only one. They're just story after story. Another person that just was totally ousted was Stephen Crowther. Stephen Crothers, I think is plural. He's from Australia. A lot of great rebels are out from Australia. Samuel Warren Carey, of course, the great doctor. James Maxlow. And Stephen Crothers, another person who just destroys the mathematics and the physics and the logic of the mathematics of black holes. And now I was working on relativity. You guys didn't used to. CERN is working from flawed models, Big Bang, black holes. Absolutely. And that's why, let's see where we're at. 9:30. I'm going to take a look at some of these articles. We'll go through them, and exactly. That's one. If you want to look at articles with as a critical thinker, Big Bang's wrong. You're not going to argue that one away from me. Almost the vast majority of critical thinkers outside the mainstream don't adhere to the Big Bang. What was I talking about? Look at anything that's exactly CERN opening. Just watch CERN. Okay. Oh, black holes, Big Bang. Yeah. What I was talking about is when you read these articles. Yeah, they're based on all this stuff that we know is. They're going, oh, the Big Bang, and therefore, well, you already lost me at the Big Bang. So you're going to talk about unicorns. That's why I always tell people, when people say, "Oh, what are they talking about then? What are all these particles they have and all this solar system?" I said, "Look, they're studying the mating habits, the colorization, the genetics, the internal organs, the psychological and social behaviors of unicorns." And they're inventing them. So they invent a system, they think of what it's supposed to be like, and then they invent things like symmetry. Oh, you got a positive, you got to have a negative. You got a positron, you got to have a negatron. Blah, 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 blah. It's like that. So, well, it has to do with things about conspiracies, etc. Just freaky. I look at almost anything without reason, and it is odd. I'm not sure what you were talking about there. Sorry about that. They excommunicate dissident scientists like high school clique. Yeah, pretty much. That's one of the things we need to write down in the stories about these scientists. I got this website that's sitting there. I got lots of websites sitting there that if any of you guys know out there, seriously, I am a great salesman at getting people, once they know about what we're doing, even within our members, people who have some money available, they help out, because I've got, the thing I bring is a great system, a great thing that's going to open this up more. This YouTube channel is proof of that. This website is going to open out immense amount of people in our direction. And I just need help. Or Wikipedia, we need to go into that. My dad and I are writing. Oh, secret! My dad and I are writing at wiki.naturalphilosophy.org. We are putting in our Wikipedia. It is under construction, so you're going to go, yeah, it's not done. It isn't done. But since you guys are my subscribers and I try to give you something, you guys are actually here, 10 of you guys sticking around. If you go to wiki.naturalphilosophy.org, look up the particle model. My father and I have recently, we've made up our mind we're going to make an encyclopedic version of what the particle model is. And the good thing about it is right now I am declaring it's sort of like a deterring machine. All the universe is mass and motion, in my opinion, in reality. And it's a matter of hacking it now. So I think there's some merit to it. One of the great things is that using our model, faster than light communication, going faster than light, it's a harder problem. But other things, even electronics. My dad's right now, we're looking for a voltmeter that goes to like 5 or 6 decimal places because we want to show that our model will predict a voltage difference between 2 parallel resistors, because the G1 particles, or the magnetic fields, which cannot be nothing, it's got to be something, that those particles that are whirling around and are all around things like a battery, this battery for instance, put a compass on it just like a magnet, and guess what happens? The compass will point to its magnetic field. This thing has a magnetic field. But guess what, folks? It's the same thing. It's all the same thing. So this batteries actually hold a lot of their energy, not a lot, all of it, or not, maybe even not a majority of it, but there's a good portion of the energy of this, if you want to call it energy, in this battery is actually outside it, flowing around it all the time. In electronic circuits, my dad's an electrical engineer, and we're being able to explain things physically that electrical engineers can't, and now we're even looking at predicting things that they didn't even know existed in a circuit. And my dad's 40 years in electrical engineering. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's just to give you one example. That's our model. Look at the Sapphire Project. Real science, real experiment. It's interesting, yeah. I haven't looked at it recently, but I certainly need to go revisit it and understand that. In fact, I should do a video on that because, yeah, it deserves it. Here's a group of people trying to do a real experiment with a new type of way of looking at the universe, much more electrically, and hats off to them. Because they're out there preaching Einstein's wrong, so they're not going to win any awards, that's for sure, or popularity awards in mainstream science. So again, hats off, you guys, Dave Talbot and all you guys. Absolutely. Well, Thornhill, I'm in and out of the room. Oh yeah, yeah, we've been talking about the electric universe a little bit tonight. So Arp's work tells me there's no reason to believe the universe is a large as presented. If superluminal experiments are to be believed, the speed of light isn't a limit. Is there real science? Is there real science anymore? Well, you got a couple of things in there. Superluminal experiments. Let me just tell you from our model, to give you a perspective. Again, that's my perspective, folks. I mean, what happens is you got to understand all the physics around what's going on before you can start claiming that it's superluminal. First of all, you got to know what luminal is. You got to know what light is. You got to know what that is. You got to know that when we accelerate things, what's really going on. So if you have a model like we do, we can tell you exactly, you know, how fast you can go with whatever thing you're trying to accelerate it with. If you are trying to accelerate a particle or even a vehicle using conventional methods, which is basically tearing apart atoms and stripping them of their electrons, or in what we call G1 particles, those go at the speed of light on the average. None of it's ever exactly the same. And what happens then is that because of the technology you're using and you don't have a model for it, you're not going to go faster than the speed of light, because what you're using only goes at the speed of light. You can't have something push something beyond the speed of light who's only going the speed of light. I think I've talked about this. I think I even have a video on that as well. So in our model, we have below that level for light to curve, for light to bend, which is not gravity, because light and gravity are the same particle. So does light bend gravity? It's like, does water bend water? So in our model. And so what happens is in our model for a prism, which is, the prism is a triangle, and the light comes in and it goes into a rainbow. It only goes with a triangle now. Again, that has to be explainable. We explain that, but that light's moving. It's changing. The same way a light that happens in the double slit experiment. Those groups of particles that create waves of light are going on curves, just like if I send a space probe around this and it's a planet, it curves. Same effect. It's just that at that level, instead of a particle called a G1, a graviton particle at our level that creates gravity, you have a graviton G2 at the level below that. So what happens is to make electrons go around and around, it's just the exact same thing as little planets going around a sun, and it has its own gravity. That gravity is another level down, and it never ends. It's forever. That's why we have a G1 and G2, and there's G3. So if G2 particles are doing that, and it's keeping those things going at c, they're going faster than c. Now, if they're going at c squared, which my dad contends, maybe he's right, but they're going faster. Then if we have a way to then construct a way to emanate G2 waves of G2 particles, just like when we send out digital signals through you're seeing me through digital cables. What is that? That's light. What's light in our model? It's just waves. Here's some particles. Here's some particles. Here's some particles. There's a frequency between those. They do that. They literally send pulses. They're not sending wavelengths. They're sending pulses of light, and those things are digital. That's how light works. It is light. That's the way light works. So if you do that with G2 particles, the particles that are below that have to make the universe work at the next level down, they're going way faster. We can communicate at c squared to Mars in a fourth of a second. I calculated something like that. Less than a second. So we can't do all those things when we call about, we want to go fast. We have to have a model for everything for us to understand it so that we can then technically do it. As Dr. Karazani, my mentor in all of this, said, it's a matter of time and technology. Someone will do it. But you have to have a model. And that's why our model is so, in our opinion, so promising, because it deals with the real forces that's going on and gives reality to this stuff. You don't get sunburned because of massless particles hitting you. So let's see here. Alrighty, which group electron? Okay, Joe, Arp's work tells there's no reason to believe the universe is large. Oh yeah, we did that. Superluminal. Well, my opinion is I think infinity is really important. Again, that's something that a lot of people in our group think. A lot of people think it's only up. That is, you do have an ultimate particle, but it gets, things get bigger. Universe is not ending, in my opinion. Greg Volk, my great friend, will say if you go this way in the universe, you'll end up back right where you are, that there's some type of looping going on somehow. I'm not sure how that would work, but I can't do it. I can't go for a long time in that direction right now to prove him wrong. So, in my opinion, you just go forever. You're gonna keep finding stuff forever. You might find patches of less stuff, but what's the long path to gravity? Yeah, I've watched his theory of gravity. It's interesting. It's pretty interesting. Even with, I would say this, within his own model of gravity, I watched it pretty closely and really looked at the mechanics and what it was. There's some things he needs to fix still within his own model. I'm not saying that I agree with it at all. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But with his own system, as a system, like if I look at him like computer programs, there's some inconsistencies there still. He'll probably, hopefully, you come up and make those better. I think the Grand Canyon is expanding Earth, but I do I'm just not fond of some of their, particle, some odd, cool. Lisa, check out Andrew Hill's stuff on electric geology. Yeah, I do know about that. Again, I personally don't subscribe to it, but I absolutely applaud those people doing it and going out and learning about it. Think about it. Here's what you need to do, folks. There's all those theories out there, including ours. You just got to find which one floats your boat, which one you think makes most sense to you about the way the universe probably really is. The ones I have my own objections to most of them because they all have magical things in them, which I don't like. I don't like magic. This physics, the world's physics. There is no magic here. So I walk around and slide on my cables. There's been huge catastrophes, lots of evidence, just like the expanding Earth. But the expanding Earth isn't a catastrophe. No, it's not. But have there been catastrophes? Absolutely. I think, here's another thing. This is my own opinion about people. The difference, I think one of the biggest difference between me and even a lot of dissidents, I call myself a dissident, is that I don't get married to something as much. A lot of times, if you believe I think this is my opinion about the psychology of the electric universe, is that you want everything to be explained by it. Everything. It's, David, you have your particles. Yeah, that's true too. But I think what happens, though, is when I look at something like a phenomenon like the Grand Canyon, and I see that the Earth's expanding, I don't say, that's a particle model making it expand. Whereas the electric universe will try in its best to explain everything. Now, that is absolutely cool. In fact, Dr. Alexander Unziger says to do that. I just think that sometimes we over-apply some kind of concept that everything is got to be explained by that. Again, please forgive me. I'm not here to dump on the electric universe in any way. I'm just saying that I think somebody told me that the electric universe people, even when it comes to the Grand Canyon, could say, well, maybe that one is from an Earth expansion or something like that. I think, people who are critical thinkers will change their minds. They will find things that they once thought, and maybe they'll have a different opinion about it. But yes, there are catastrophes. Absolutely. Oh, we got 12 people watching, but they're now gone. They're down to 7, I think, here. But yeah, that's cool. I really appreciate everybody being here. I think, Eileen, that way in terms of catastrophe seems is possible. Yeah, absolutely. There are catastrophes that happen. Absolutely. There are huge explosions in the universe. There's huge collisions in the universe. There are huge happenings of volcanoes, probably volcanism, maybe. I just think it depends. You got to look at the evidence. I think the whole idea that everything is catastrophe. Well, I guess the only way, if I were to look at our models, we'd say everything is a collision of mass in some level. So, could be. Big Bang is a science creation myth. It does get support by people who are creationists. I do know that, and they absolutely have the right to do that. And people have the right to defend the Big Bang. The problem is defending the Big Bang right now is really hard, because even just philosophically and logically, you got a lot of problems. Having the Pope say that the Big Bang, I think there was something like that, wasn't there? The Pope declared that the Big Bang could be actually, God's creation or something like that. Again, I'm not here to say, I just look at it, I don't care what your inspiration is, I care about what the science is, and if the science has problems, they have problems. So if a person looks at it religiously and says this is the creation, but the evidence for the Big Bang is really bad, So you have to look at it in a different way. Maybe God created it in a different way, but it wasn't a Big Bang. So Velikovsky really opened my eyes about opposing views are treated in science. Very good. Absolutely. Velikovsky. I'm not a big fan myself, but I wasn't here 30,000 years ago to know whether or not Venus came flying into our solar system and just sort of got caught by it. Is that possible? Absolutely. For anybody to say that's ludicrous. That's ludicrous. Saying anything is ludicrous or impossible in science is stupid to say. That's why Neil deGrasse Tyson is such a non-scientific person. That guy is absolutely religious when it comes to the mainstream science. He acts like a priest. He acts like a religious person. And you just go watch my video on him. It's one of the most watched videos I have. It's coming up to 2,000 views, which to me is like 2 million. Just put million in front of 1,000 and I look really cool. I look like viral. I told my daughter, hey, I got a channel, I got a couple thousand subscribers. That's it. The one she watches, this one guy who made $17 million from YouTube last year, who all he does is talk about games. Hey, cool. So yeah, Velikovsky, it doesn't matter who opens your eyes or how, it's that they are open. When I left my religion behind me, I turned to science and embraced the Big Bang, etc. Now I'm realizing sometimes science is treated like religion these days. See, you know what, Lisa, you may not be like what we call a technical scientist who is doing calculations, but you are certainly a natural philosopher. Applause. Push my button. Some people don't like it, so I'll do it myself. Applause. So there you go. You are a philosophy. That's why we have our group called Natural Philosophy. We took that domain very seriously. It's expensive, the domain, but we got people pull their money together and we got it because we are Natural Philosophy. We're looking at what the philosophy of the universe is. That's what natural, the philosophy of nature. And that's what we try to come up with. What is the philosophy that governs nature? Oh, wow. There's lots. Said this now and agree. Okay. Velikovsky, another terribly treated man. Absolutely. I've been looking into him. Can't. Okay. Oh, I think I may be repeating myself now. I've been avoiding the main area of Facebook like a plague, but I'm going to the group specifically. I will go down, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. David, you're doing great work. You're my science therapist. Hey, yep. I don't know when I came up with that. That was really cool. I had a lot of friends, people. I do come up with my brain sort of comes up with systems by itself. I keep seeing stuff and that's the way my brain works. So I guess I just come up with these science woke and even though someone says, oh, someone's probably said that, maybe they have, but science therapist, ciao for now. That I came up with. There at least one of the people. Ciao in Portuguese means goodbye. Actually, ciao in Italian is goodbye and hello, sort of like aloha. But anyways, yeah, I like to come up with those kinds of sayings. It took me 8 years to come up with this phrase, which I think is really great. Don't listen to me, listen to what I say. Where does that come from? It comes from our group, where when you stand in front of us, we don't care who you are. We can care less. We don't care if you are a person who doesn't work at all, lives on the streets, lives by handouts, or if you are a person that's a millionaire and who is super successful. If you say stupid things and you're a person on the street, we're going to call you stupid. We don't care. If you say brilliant things and you're from this person on the street, we don't care. It's brilliant, and vice versa. So those kinds of sayings, that's pretty cool. Absolutely. David, you're okay? Yeah. Magnetic field is just something we can detect and measure that tells us something is there. Yeah, but it is something. It is something. It's a force. In fact, according to our model, what keeps nucleons together, we have particles that keep the nucleons together, and magnetism are the same. Did you ever notice that magnetism, especially with really powerful magnets, just make gravity look like it doesn't exist at all. So there you go. What's the difference between animate objects and an inanimate? Whoa. Yeah, well, that's... the only thing I can say is the universe does seem to be made up of levels. Oh no, everybody's going to yawn again. Sorry, yawn attack, everybody. But the universe is absolutely made up of levels, and at different levels you have variety. We live into one of those variety levels that create these kinds of ability to have beings and sort of sentient beings, if you want to call them that. Not all levels of the universe do that. The planet itself is made up of stuff that's not sentient, but the planet itself being a particle around a sun, which is in a galaxy, which could be another particle of something bigger, could be. So there's just levels all around. And so that's would be my sort of take on it. I'm pending. EU has the most accurate predictions over the 29 years I've been following them. There's a lot of accurate predictions for sure. Wasn't it the one where they smashed the probe into the comet that it would have like a flash? My father and I's theory can talk about why that's actually happening, but the idea that it's more electric and these things can happen, absolutely. A lot of good predictions. Sapphire has created a sun inside a chamber based on their model. Super cool. Oh, or super hot. Okay. I see what you're saying. Dissident Science. Well, the political note. A lot of science bring everything back to capitalism. So, yeah. It's very, very true. Big Bang was invented by... They made some truth to that, isn't there? Expanding Earth is not at odds with EUT. Okay, cool. But I will tell you, folks, it wasn't always that way. I remember 10 years ago at a conference, and again, I've been not in charge, but I've been a vocal person that sort of like a spokesperson out there in front all the time. So I have a lot of people come up to me, and I'm outspoken. I did get in trouble with the EU group 10 years ago when I asked certain questions. That wasn't a good experience, but again, I'm put it aside. But anyways, what's I think interesting is that somebody came up to me 10 years ago and in private and in whispering voice said, "Dave, I know you've been talking a lot about expanding Earth. I've been thinking about it on my own. I sort of think you're right." And he says, "Don't tell anybody else." And know who he was talking about? Other people in the EU. So it goes to show you, applause to the EU because they are evolving, in my opinion, through the better. David, go to the next EU conference. You need to become more acquainted on the deeper level. I do want to go there, but it'll be for a different reason because my goal is different right now. I take that as a compliment in some respect, but that I'm not going to do. My mission is to get people's science woke. That's it. To get all these great people, including the EU, including Velikovsky, out there so that we can debate it in the right ways. So we can, if you're a PhD student, want to do something on Velikovsky, you should be able to. Absolutely. That's my goal. My goal is to make that possible. So. Our model will explain it, but there are things that our model will say that is more fundamental than theirs, in my opinion. We explain charge, we explain electric fields. There's so, but to say it's all electrical, our model says not, but it can tell you that there's a lot electrical, and these are where those happen. So I'm not sure I would talk about that. I would really more talk about the bigger picture of how, we need to all get together and that kind of thing. But I don't even know really. I have to think about it. I don't know the answer to me going there. I would definitely go there for a different reason. I've got a project that's a mass media project that would blow the doors wide open. I've had that, but I've had a lot of projects that it takes years for the right time to have them happen. So until people realize that the science industry isn't benevolent or you are at your best interest in mind, the best thing is the best thing for the future. Yep, that's one of the things. Electricity is the observable result. Yeah, I would say that's a good description of it. All right, folks. I know we're getting to the end of this, but it says, "Wow, the sentence was an atrocity." Must be. Hey, no problems. Let the first person cast the stone here. Let me go through some of these articles here. It may slow down a little bit because my computer's an older computer, about 4 or 5 years old. So you may see me freeze a little bit now and then. But I'm going to go here to news at Google. Oh, know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Facebook because I know a lot of people don't go to Facebook. Man, you should go there just to read Einstein to laugh. I need more of you out there. Go to Einstein and start arguing with me. I'm starting to get people to do that along with me. It's like, oh, cool. So I'm going over now to Albert Einstein. He's not going to make it past 19 million followers. Let me see how many he has. Yep. He has been stuck on 19 million followers forever. That seems to be the place of where the worshipers fall off. And people, they don't relate to him. So I'm going to go to his page. It's going to slow us down a little bit. And I'm now going to move that over so you can see that. Make sure it's not too big. So I'm going to try this out. Bam! There we go. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Alrighty, there's Albert Einstein. Here's just to give you an idea of how the worship is for Albert. A vacation fit for a genius. This is like the story I told you. I talked with one of his friends and I get calls, literally, Dave de Hilster. Oh, I'm so famous, right? I talked to Einstein's friend. I mean, look at that. People actually accuse me of an ego because I knew Einstein. What I like about it are the stories. I mean, he would call me up, Jack Rosenberg, who was a friend of Einstein's, would call me up in the middle of the night and say, when I was trying to interview him for the movie until he found out what the title was, he would call me, "Hey Dave, you know what the most the best musician of all in history was?" And I go, "No, Mozart." I go, "Why?" "Well, Einstein thought so." So anything Einstein said became as if he were God, and that's our problem here. So what is Einstein's reading? What's his last words? I keep submitting my art. I got really great art for. Let me. I don't have it here. It's on my phone, but I have a really nice drawing of him. Here we go. This is a good. Well, I'm not going to look at this one. The strength of gravity has been measured to new precision. Well, guess what? That's the G for you people who are new to. And I'm your science therapist. Let me tell you something. G is a constant, but there are no constants. What we have is we use it because we don't know what's going on, so we throw the constant in and it works. Well, it turns out that G, it works on our planet. And actually, as it gains mass, G will change. So measuring it to a new precision, I guess this is his way of trying that. Einstein says, Einstein's way above Newton. Newton's the old passe. He's the mechanical guy. Einstein's where it's at. Because look at this. It's a black hole with a rubber sheet. I talk about that a lot. There he is. Oh, this is so great. This is more Einstein worshiping. Throwback Thursday. Einstein surrounded by journalists in Pittsburgh. It's like we're listening to Gandhi. We're going to write down. Oh, Einstein passed gas. Let's analyze that. Poor guy. Look. I mean, how much worship can you go on? If you look at me, I actually have stuff in there. Did I put some stuff in here? I usually put in my memes in there who say, stop worshiping Einstein. We got to stop this to make... my favorite one now is to put the girl in the graduation who puts up the sign that says, "I can't challenge Einstein at my university." You know how you have those protest signs at graduation? People don't know how to answer that. I'm not getting rebuttal on that one. I'm starting to find where their weaknesses are, because they're thinking, well, what are they going to say? You can't challenge it. Then you're saying that universities are telling you what to believe. But this is a good one here, folks. This is the very first time we've been able to detect sources simultaneously in both gravitational and light waves, which is, they don't have a model for this. What are they talking about? I'm giving you science therapists, let me tell you that. So they're talking about both gravitational and light waves. What's a gravitational wave? What's that made of? Gravitons? Well, no, it's space-time. But you talk about gravitons at the same time. Yes, we do. See, their idea is that they can talk about it in any way they want, because it's sort of like a universe where if you look at it differently and that kind of stuff. This provides an entirely new, exciting probe, and we've been learning all sorts of interesting things about the universe. You haven't. You don't know anything about the universe. How could you learn about it? You've learned about, you can make more stuff up. The unicorn story can get bigger. Anyways, here it is. Gravitational waves provide a dose of reality about extra dimensions. We're gonna walk into this baby. All right. Here we go. Let me get this in a readable format. Let's see if we can get it into this kind of format here. There. Okay. Cool. This is a good format. One of those reading mode formats, which you can read a lot better for you guys. Here it is. In a new study, University of Chicago astronomers have found no evidence for extraspatial dimensions in the universe based on gravitational wave data. All right, we're critical thinkers, right? I'm here to teach you the logic, be your science therapist, as I've been told, right? Here we go. No evidence of extraspatial dimensions. Spatial dimensions, what would those be? X, Y, and Z. The 3 dimensions. Those are the spatial dimensions. No extra ones there. So let's keep reading and see if they stay consistent. You know the answer to that, right? While last year's discovery of gravitational waves from colliding neutron stars was earth-shaking, it won't add extra dimensions to our understanding of the universe. Not literal ones, at least. There it starts to break down. What the heck does that mean? There are non-literal dimensions? Guys, they're playing with us. And the reason they do this is where the science therapy comes in. Because they are nerds who are picked on in school, just like I was picked on in school. Yes, I was, like a lot of nerds. And those nerds want to have revenge. So they want to start talking about this and think about it. And they talk and they banter back and forth. This is no different from rap. And you're trying to diss someone's mom. In rap. There's no different. It's just a big game of who's more powerful, who thinks they're more powerful, who appears more powerful. That's all it is. So these guys are rapping their language, and this is what they're saying. No literal ones. Okay, extra. So it won't add extra dimensions. They didn't say spatial anymore. You're going to see why, because I've read this article, obviously. So let's go down. It says no spatial. It says here, university astronomers have found no evidence for extraspatial dimensions based on gravitational waves. The research published in blah, blah, blah. It's one of many papers in the wake of extraordinary announcements last year that LIGO had detected neutron star collision. I thought it was extraordinary because it was gravitational waves. You see how they, just in case is wrong, we'll sort of write around it already. I'm your therapist. See, I'm showing you things you never saw before. Hey, no one else has this kind of channel on the internet because no one's been around these brilliant minds as long as I and sucked it all up. And hey, I won't even say what I was about to say. Stone me, shoot me, do anything but about what I was about to say. Who I sort of am in this new universe. I'm not going to say it. Anyways, the first ever detection of gravitational waves in 2015, which 3 physicists won Nobel Prize last year. Boy, that was fast, wasn't it? Last year, scientists observed two neutron stars collide. The major difference between the two is that the astronomers could see the aftermath of neutron star collision with a conventional telescope, light, producing 2 readings that would be compared, one in gravity and one electromagnetic waves. Um, uh, Physicist, hello, I've got a question. What's gravity again? No, I want to know what it really is, not that you detected it, and not that you say it's a ripple. What is it rippling? Is it a quantum soup? Well, the reason I'm saying that, folks, is obviously they don't. So, again, my mom, rest her soul, once I hung out and was doing this a lot, even with her talking, and she heard these conversations all the time because she's around us. We would talk about this stuff ourselves. Now we have a way to talk about it online and all that stuff. So, yeah, this is the very first time we're going to go about. This provides an entirely new and exciting probe, and we'll be able to learn all sorts. They're repeating themselves because they put that first paragraph at the top, I guess. Here we go. Here's where their internal logic breaks down. Remember, they talk about spatial X, Y, and Z, right? No extra spatial dimensions. Einstein's theory of gravity explains solar system very well, but it's, except where it doesn't all over the place. But as scientists learn about more about the universe beyond, big holes in our understanding began to emerge. This is the part that I don't like. I have another article, I don't think I'm going to get to it, maybe I will today, that talks about, maybe we're wrong about all this, and then when you really read about it, the things that they say they're right on, they're the wrongest stuff, and the things they think are wrong are just, yeah. So, okay, understanding, these two are dark, big holes in our understanding emerge. These two are dark matter, which you don't need because Newton explains it without dark matter. One of the basic ingredients of the universe, not. And dark energy. Of course, energy is a concept. At least matter is really something. So this idea of dark energy is a concept. It's a useful concept to translate what we consider to be good movement, like the movement of our car on a road from gasoline inside of our tank. We use energy equations to help us calculate like how much gasoline we need, but there ain't energy. Is a gallon of gas a gallon of energy? The mysterious force that makes the universe expand faster over time. So let's look at this. Dark matter doesn't exist. One of the basic ingredients in the universe, that's wrong because it's not one of them. Dark energy, that's doubly wrong because you can have dark matter I can almost buy because at least it's self-consistent, but dark energy is like saying dark, we can't see it, and it's energy, which is a concept, of course, is nothing. So really bad. And the mysterious forces that make the universe expand faster over time. The universe isn't expanding. It's not going even faster over time. So the universe expanding is bad. Doubly worse that it's faster over time, all because of the redshift, which we know has to do with the nature of light, which they don't know how it works. So scientists have proved all kinds. We're still not getting to the great part yet. Scientists have proposed all kinds of these theories to explain dark matter, not dark energy. And a lot of alternative theories to general relativity start with adding an extra and a lot of alternative theories to general relativity start with adding an extra dimension, said graduate student Maya Fischbach, a co-author of on the paper. One theory is that over long distances, gravity would leak into additional dimensions. So what do they say? A lot of alternatives to general relativity add an extra dimension. Let's go back to their, let's see where we are, more or less. Okay. Let's go back to this says, gravitational waves provide a dose of reality about extra dimensions. We find no evidence for spatial dimensions. So you notice they said spatial. What does that even mean? Are there real people out there in the physics world that believe there's like a fourth spatial dimension? X, Y, Z, and W? Well, it all comes from something we'll see coming up later here. So the extra dimension, leak into additional... Guys, they're lunatics. All right. Anyways, sorry. This would cause gravity to appear weaker and could account for... Okay. Yeah. The 1-2 punch of gravitational waves and light from the neutron star detected last year and Fishbach to test this theory. Gravitational waves from the collision reverberated in the LIGO in the morning of blah, 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 followed by detection of gamma rays, X-rays, radio waves, and optical and infrared light. If gravity were leaking into other extra dimensions along the way, then the signal they measured in the gravitational wave detectors would have been weaker than expected, but it wasn't. And it now appears that the universe has a here it comes, folks. I have to go back to that last one because this one is just, oh my goodness. I mean, this whole thing that it was up here. I want to show you something up here. It's an internal fight. I'm your science therapist. I'm going to show you things that read between lines. It's an internal fight in the unicorn world. You know, it's sort of like the life of Brian, the gourds and the sandal. Okay, anyways. Yeah, you now know one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie of all time. But this is just beginning. There are so many theories out there right now. Okay, so they did that. Okay, so let's go. Here it is. It appears now that the universe has the same familiar dimensions: 3 in space and 1 in time. Even on the scales of 100 million light years. 4 dimensions. 4 dimensions. 3 in space and 1 in time. Now, I'm a linguist. You all know that. Got my master's degree in it. I love language. Language tells us how we think. It tells us how we look at the world. If we have a language that doesn't have a word for something, then that doesn't exist. So anyways, dimensions. Dimensions are for getting the dimensions of something. This is a box, and there are 3 dimensions. That's it. You can't have another one. You can't. You can't just say, all the people sitting here, David, and this box. I'm calling it. It's my new theory. This box is a person. It's about as logical as that. So here we go. That the norm is dimensions, which are there are only 3: height, width, and length. That's where the word comes from. But they say the same familiar dimensions: 3 in space and 1 in time, 2 in pickles, 4 in mayonnaise, and another la-di-da-da. All right. So it appears now that the universe, okay, so this is just the beginning. Science says there's so many theories. I'm going to go back to that one part. So many theories until now. There have been so many theories. We don't have concrete ways to test. This changed how. So basically, actually it came back right here. Guess what this is? These are people in the mainstream who are not real fans of string theory. How do I know that? Because they're talking about the extra dimensions. Folks, we know that the universe has 4 dimensions. Nope. The universe has 3 dimensions. Time is something we use for movement within those dimensions. There ain't anything, you don't need any more than that. So, it's like, we are less wronger than you. We only have 1 wrong dimension, which is time. You got 10 to 26, you string theorists. Blah, ha, ha, ha. There you go. So, that's all from Mr. Albert Einstein's. Okay, this is perfectly going for going to sleep listening to. Oh, thanks. People, there you go. Maybe when I go off on these rants, people are not going to like this, huh? Nothing as it seems. Time is blah, blah, blah. You can have 4 dimensions. You can have 4 dimensions if they are less than 90 degrees apart, but that's redundant. That's interesting. I'm a mathematician. I like that sort of cleverness. So, yep, putting people to sleep on reading this, because maybe a lot of people who are here already read through these and know these things. But I think the internal fights and all that kind of stuff are quite interesting. Physics search for rare Higgs boson pairs, which could yield new physics. It just goes on and on and on. So, oh, look at there. Oh, here we go. You got to see this. You guys got to see this. There it is. This is the next big thing, says Sally Dawson, a theorist at Brookhaven National Laboratory. Look at that. I mean, it looks beautiful machine. It's just a G1 particle accelerator. Shh, don't tell them that. Physics, search for a rare particle. So, I put this one of my favorite memes right here. It says, can we click on that? There it is. The world's most powerful, and you're expecting particle accelerator. No, Nobel Prize machine. You know, it's funny because there's actually people in mainstream who like this. I don't know if they've actually used it, but I think they think this means this is because it's the greatest machine. It's going to earn lots of Nobel Prizes because it's such an amazing machine. Not. Oh, here's James Grist. He is a critical thinker. He actually talked on one of our Saturday morning talks. And he says, giant particle accelerators are expensive waste of resources and brains that have not produced any useful application. But that's the intention. Get the smartest people on Earth, hoover up all the funds available intended to go to brilliant research, and give them to utterly futile, endless tasks. This is great stuff. That way, brilliant minds and huge amounts of cash for research will be subdued, WRT, creating annoying new application technologies that threaten to undermine the economic status quo. It's a constant struggle for big corporations to stay on top by keeping a leash on the new technology. It could be, but it may be partly that, but I think it's really more to do with nerds who want to pretend that they're super brains than humans. I think it's more emotional, in my opinion. But I did give a laugh to it, but I'll give that a definite heart's love to that guy's doing this. Questioning everything is to point out and understand nothing. I'll put an angry sign there. There you go. Anyways, here we go. Enough to insane endowment is attributed to Max Einstein, a character feature in... Look at this stuff. 7 quantum particles act like billions in weird physics experiment. You think that it comes from more that they don't have a model for anything, so they can't explain squat? That's what I think. Anyways, I don't want to drag on too much. It's been about an hour and a half. I have 8 people, up to 12 people. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. I have a lot of great interactions with you guys that give me some ideas what to do. Great questions tonight. You know, should I go to I should go to the EU. What could I do there? Well, I already have a plan to go there, but that's with a big project that I don't really know when that's going to really get its legs. I am. Another secret. I got a lot of projects. With the guy I made the movie with, the guy who wrote the music, I've got a musical called Einstein Wrong, and it is fantastic, folks. I won't tell you the plot of it, but it's going to be a musical. My daughter's going to be like a musical, so I figured, hey, I'll do one. And it's about Einstein and his wife, but it's fictitious, based on the realities of modern science and the physics in the 20th century, where everyone went awry. It's very ironic. It's very twisted plot. It mixes people and times at times, but it is good. So I am going to be pitching it to my composer, and we may start on it. And so when my daughter's like at on Broadway or something like that, it's like, hey daughter, I got this new play, Einstein Wrong. You can imagine, I will tell you the secret. It starts out with a song, Einstein singing about him being nervous about his speech to the Nobel Prize committee, and it ain't what you think. So pretty cool. Totally fictitious. Oh, here's me. Theoretical physics has gone... I'm not showing you that. Right here. on this one. I said, theoretical physics has gone mad. Of course, it has gone mad now for over 80 years, actually longer. We need new directions. I just keep putting in those. And I actually get people our way. You know, these are the way. There are 19 million in holding. It's not growing anymore. So people are getting tired of Einstein. You know why? Because nothing comes out of it. Okay. Time is massless. Time is a concept, okay, or movement, which is still a kind of concept. So it doesn't exist. You can't quantify nothing. Yeah. Light is also massless at static levels. So what are the odds light as mass as dynamic level? Well, one of the things they talk about is how, I gotta find where that is. I'm gonna talk wrong. I saw this, and this is really interesting, that they're talking about light and that it had to have some type of mass some way, and if it did, then gravity would affect it, but I'm totally off target on that. I don't want to even go there. I had really some great thoughts, but obviously not right now. Oh wow, there's a lot of comments here. You can have 4 dimensions if they are less than 9. Yeah, okay, we talked about that. Nothing. You don't need other dimensions. You got nothing and something. The scale apply to periodic table and value. Yep. Romania, 5 a.m. Oh my goodness! Wait a minute. Do you know Ionel Danu? He is a great Romanian experimentalist. Even though he's an ether person, and I'm not, he's still very great. His work was absolutely fundamental to our model. So, didn't seem like it's boring. I'm picky about what I spend time watching or listening up to, and this channel is one of a kind, asking questions no one does, and pointing out to the emperors. Thank you. Absolutely, that's what this is all about. Thanks for the discussion, Dave, and all the chat. Very well. Thank you very much. Nothing isn't as it seems, David. Why less the zero number are valid in math? Nothing in the universe less than 0. Whoa! I love that. Who is that? That's N. I don't know who that is, but N, very good. We're at 24, just a few minutes ago. See my talk on the square root of -1 by my favorite mathematician of all time. I love this guy to death. The nature of negative numbers. You are so right. Give you an example of what you just said. My dad doesn't even use the negative side because we work in a positive. Things are there. The only reason you have negative numbers is if you put a point somewhere and you want to go beyond it. Well, then move your darn thing over. The negative number only comes because where you're measuring from, you're like here, so now you're measuring to this side of it and then to this side of it. But this book, The Nature of Negative Numbers by Peter Erickson, this is not for the light of the faint of heart. The square root of -1 times the square root of -1 is -1, because the square root of times of anything that's under it. That is I'm going to make a t-shirt of that. I mean, for we mathematicians, because my bachelor's in mathematics, this is earth-shattering. The veritable number system, great stuff. So the answer is absolutely. My father does that himself when he's doing calculations because it makes no sense. Negative numbers, and the idea that negative square root of -1, it's only because of our real number system. When we start using negative numbers, it breaks down. Of course, what you need to do is move to the variable number system. And yes, the variable number system works with the real number system, but it's better and does not have the problems. So there you go. Even our mathematics needs work, folks. All right, up at 5 a.m. listening to my favorite science news and science commentary analysis channel. Who's that? Is that me? I get shocked. It's like people really do. I guess they do. I mean, I get people. Like, again, I will say this over and over, but the reason I'm here is because I found at parties, literally, I'm serious, at parties and at discussions with just regular people about science, they ended up coming back to me and bugging the heck out of me because I would give them real answers and real observations from all these great scientists that have looked at the real problems and who have confronted them and come up with the answers. They go, well, if the Big Bang's wrong, well, it's an eternal universe and it's cyclical. At least where we are, and who knows, maybe it'll have a giant bang at a higher level. It's going to wipe it out and then spread it out again. But it ain't a big bang. And then they ask why that is, and I give them answers, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they would bug me. I'd go to a party. It's really fun. I'm not kidding. I would go back to a party. Like, my daughter was younger, and we'd go to a party, and there were people there. I don't want time. I like science. You like, oh, let's talk about science. And I would talk about it. I would just start talking because I figured I'll start the conversation. So I would talk. And I would start talking about something and about something. The other guy, wow, weird. And so I talk to them and they go, oh, well, that's interesting. So I try to make it interesting for the average person who likes science. And then then I go, okay, I'm done. I got to go. No, the guy would like follow me, or the girl would follow me. And yeah, but wait, you were talking about this. This is really interesting. What about this? And then I'd see him at a party 2 weeks from then, from their kid would have a party, and Dave, I was thinking about what you said. I had one guy at work when it was expansion tectonics, because he'd hear my phone conversations in my cube. He goes, what are you talking about, the Earth expanding? Get out of here. So I sent him a link. Go watch this. Neil Adams, go watch this. And so, okay. So he comes in the next day, and he literally comes to my desk, and this is a story. He goes, I hate you, David. I go, why? He says, I can't stop thinking about the expanding Earth. I can't figure out why that's not true. I can't stop thinking about it. It makes so much sense. But it's scary because no one talks about it. Why is anybody talking about this? So those are the reactions. So I'm really pleased to have... I really appreciate those comments because it keeps me going. Sometimes I'm figuring, am I just like going to die doing this? No one's going to pay attention. But you guys are paying attention, so cool. What do you think of irrational numbers? See them as functions that are part of the... Don't ask me. Get every Peter Erickson book out there. Seriously. He talks about rationals, irrationals, infinitesimals. This guy is great. He's so good and so out there, and I'm such a mathematician that I told this story too. I'm sorry repeating it. Bruce Nappy in CNPS 2017, this guy was talking, and he literally thought he was nuts. I mean, he thought he was absolutely crazy. And I said, he is crazy right, and he is crazily good. And Bruce sort of clammed up because he's not so much a mathematician. I said, he just blew my mind 6 times in one lecture. So, I'm the president, he's stand up there. I said it, but it was more like, no, let's let this guy go. And absolutely amazing. Sometimes I just have sometimes ability to see these things maybe ahead of a lot of people. But read it. Irrationals, Rational. Not only this is his newest book. Read his other books. Go to Amazon. Order them all. Order them all. Order them all. Order them all. Have an actual specific finite value. As to say, what do you think of irrational numbers as a number of irrationals? And people think of them as a number like they have an actual specific finite value. Yeah. It has to do with our system, folks. It has nothing to do with anything other than our system. Pi has to do with we have numbers, and those numbers are in decimal. And if it was a different one, we'd still have, but they're using numbers, and we're trying to write it out in a formation of this way, and it just can't be done because a circle because if you keep going closer to a circle, if here's a circle and it's a circle, but as I get closer, now it's not a circle because I can't see it all. It's good if I get closer, that circle, that curvature goes to a line as I get closer and closer. And how do you describe that in a physical sense? So that's our mathematical systems are fallible. Math is good, but only unknown. The coffee stain experiment. Now physics can answer why the server can't figure it out, but a human can. Yeah, math is a measuring tool that can be used as a weapon of mass confusion. Answers are meant simply a concept to confuse them. In my opinion, math is not an answer. Absolutely, it's not. It's a tool. It's a wonderful tool. So if we want to calculate, if we want to use our models to make a car go down the road or make a spaceship go as fast as we can, then we can use mathematics to help us with that. Golden ratio is likely more valid, or other ratio. Yeah, possibly. Interesting part. Things that I know because I hang out with the best guys. Structures. Mr. N, you would like structures. We have a whole part of our group that just talks about structures. How structures are formed, how structures fit together. Why do you have spheres fit together very nicely? What other kinds of structures are involved? Structures themselves, just the logic of structures can tell you a lot about the way the universe can really work. So, all right, man. The problem is you've got people around the world going up to sleep and waking up. This is now going, an hour and a half, actually longer because I started beforehand. I also find that these are watched quite a bit by people afterwards. When I get off of this, obviously, and I look at the actual watch time on these, the average time that people watch these long ones that I make are like these sort of ramblings. They'll just sort of listen to them. I think maybe because they're working on something that's maybe repetitive, or you're driving and they can put these on and just listen to it, and it stimulates people's brains. I guess the gift of gab for this to do that. So anyways, up to 10. Well, welcome people. If you guys want to keep going, I have a little bit more time. It is 10:37 here. There was something else I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, this is really interesting. Okay, do you think reality, space is quantized, discrete, granular, at a fundamental level like a checkerboard, or just infinite complexity with no lower bound? Good question. I believe that just space is filled with something. I am not a etherist and I'm not a lattice person, but if you are a lattice person, which is a perfectly good model, you think that space is filled more with a structural thing, much like atoms make up an element. If you're an etherist, you think it's more like a liquid or a gas. More like a gas, I would imagine. Yeah, more like gas. And that's filled with that. But of course, if you're a Borkert etherist, it's filled with gas at this level, but then at the next level, next level, it's also filled with gas, and there's atoms in between and all that kind of stuff. Very similar to a particle model, because we take Borkert's infinity seriously. But in our model, the way we look at it, it's not like space has a structure. So our particle model, it's just everything in the universe are particles moving in straight lines until they hit each other. Or they get incorporated into other particles. So if a particle is made of parts, that particle, if it's smaller, could be then become a part of something bigger. That's the only thing that in our model that can happen, and the entire universe can be constructed from that at all infinite levels for us. So the answer to your question isn't really what I think that it is. It's right now because we are in a model revolution. Again, if you read my article on sciencewoke.org, which you can't read unless you help me, please, guys, I need help. Find a millionaire or billionaire out there that can support this so we can get this out there. That certainly would help. It's a possibility. Somebody who has a lot of money who actually likes my channel and says, hey, Dave, here's a couple million. Go to it. Let's get these websites out there. Let's educate the people. Let's get our university going. Let's get Science Woke up there. Let's get your big project out that could actually become a business in itself and earn money to do all this. But, it's a chicken and the egg problem. So that's what I would say. It is, in my opinion, yes, the universe is infinite. both up and down, meaning you keep smaller, you're just going to keep getting smaller and smaller things. It's not fractal-like, but it generates things that look like fractals because of the way fractals are repeating things at different levels. So if you keep doing that and those reactions, I got that from actually the Fractal Woman. If you watch this and ever get to this point, which I probably highly doubt, gosh, I'm forgetting people's names, but the Fractal Lady, she is a wonderful mind and actually came up with some new ideas because of her work. I see. Uncountability, infinity complex, no lower bound is more likely, in my opinion. Yeah, could be. My answer, infinite dipole and delta. Well, this whole thing with dipoles and monopoles has, in my opinion, comes from the fact that people with those notions don't know what those things are. I mean, they know, they can describe what they should be. They describe that they should exist, but they don't. If you have no physical description of what a magnetic field is, what the heck are we talking about? Why talk about it? We're talking about things that, like, well, I think that we're part of a barium atom, that our solar system is a barium atom, which has actually been proposed. Well, and we're part of a chair. Well, you're just, are we really? Is this a system that we have? We can talk about things. We can talk about dipoles and monopoles, but give me a frickin' model for it. I want a physicality for it. Okay. Let's see. Nothing is as it seems. Laugh out loud. Look in the sky, cloud, space. It's all the same. You know what the really sick and sad, weird thing is? In the infinite model, you can never find mass. Why? Well, just think about it. Here's a mass, right? Finger won't go through it, right? It stops. But this is made of atoms, which is mostly space, and a nucleus, and lots of space. And this is too. So why isn't it going through? Well, okay. Well, it's the nucleons that are hitting, or it's the G1 particles, or the electrons going around the nucleus. And so those are hitting. But those are particles, and those are made of other parts, and there's space in them. So every particle is made up of space and mass. But every mass inside that is made of space and mass. So you never... Ooh, this is going to be a collector's item. This is already a collector's item. What are you talking about? Digress. So the answer to the twist is you can never find mass. It's this wispy thing that's always there, but we can't find it. Search for any monopole, even if you aren't a monopole. I don't get that. I'm not sure. I agree, David. We need to much better understand the basic concepts of charge and what it creates. No, I'm going to tell you something. Listen. If you're still there, Lisa, there's nothing that creates charge. There's no charge. A electron or a particle goes around the nucleus because there's something causing that to happen. It's not charge. We're not explaining charge. My dad, who's an electrical engineer who used charge his entire life and made a great living at it. He's not a millionaire, because he could support all this stuff. But he made a decent living at it. He has a model where he says charge doesn't exist. So it's not that we can explain charge. We can explain why things attract what we used to call charge. So it's just they're going to look back and say, look at how silly. They used to put pluses and minuses on, and they had no idea what made those things go together. They're going to laugh at us. So I'm your science therapist. That's what I'm trying to do. I agree, David. Let's understand basic concepts. What creates it? Okay, that's what I said. Human body. Atom. It's a dipole electron trap. Okay, you want my real answer? Mr. N. You can say that all you want, but here's my question. Oh, it's a dipole, an electron. Do you have charge in your system? Do you have magnetic fields or electromagnetic fields? What are those made out of? How's that work? Oh, I don't care. It's just, I do. So, what mathematics of string theory, like extra dimensions and multiverse mean because they are embedded in math. If proven wrong, what will be their meaning? Their meaning, from one of the original authors of string theory, was just a mathematical exercise. It was never intended to be physical. And they are abhorred by this, and you will not find that anywhere because the string people don't want you to know that. They're not going to publish it if it's out there. They'll squash it or do something. You're just not going to see it. You're not going to see that anywhere. Go to the string page and you see the origins of it. It is so well hidden, folks. The reason why is because if it's not hidden, they'll have to reference the person, and then someone like myself will look at that person and say, oh, here's the guy who made it up, and he's now saying he's abhorred by the idea that these people are even doing this. So, anyways, I feel a need to understand what we observe in terms of processes rather than defaulting to a mysterious field. I'm going to clap for half an hour on that one. This is my question I had until I saw Untitled Chapter, and until my dad and I came up with the particle model, which we came up with. Field. 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 My question to the EU people, which they got really mad at me. They literally almost drummed me out of the room. What's a field? You guys talk about a field. What is that? And then people in our group. Oh, well, we have the field, and it's a field. I go, what is it? Now, our group is starting to answer those questions. And so, good for them. But exactly, we have magical things called charge, and positives and negatives attract because you want to know who came up with it? Hey, a bonus. I'll send it. I don't have a t-shirt. Well, I do have t-shirts, but no, I won't send them. I don't have I got to make t-shirts. I got to give prizes away. Here's what here's the question to you. In one of my videos, I tell you, or at least it's around. You can look it up. You'll look it up. Whoever looks it up first. But who came up with the idea of plus and minus for charges? Who is the person? I will say it was a man. The difference of the trapped and trapping proton is actually what is trapped. Okay. Not familiar with that as much. Mass and density are dependent on charge in the electric universe model. Makes a lot of sense when explained. Yeah, look, the electrical, current are, I equals whatever over R, or whatever, the famous Ohm's law, whatever it is. I'm terrible at this, so please don't quote me. My dad's an electrical engineer. But they have all the equations for electrical engineering. They have all the calculations. They make them. They put them into computer programs, and they even can make circuits on their own. These things work very well. And they explain it. It makes sense. But it still doesn't answer the question. For instance, you're saying density and mass and density are dependent on charge. No. Not because I don't believe the electric universe. Mass and dependency are not charge. Charge doesn't exist. What exists are forces that are created, and they are related to mass. Absolutely. Forces related to mass. How much mass do you have? What part of that mass is moving? How fast is it? How big is it? That's the real question. That's why my father and I are like the particle model, because you can always explain it all. You can't. There's nothing in our model that comes along and goes, oh yeah, and then over here we have the charge. No, charge doesn't exist. Charge is something that we use to magically make two things move without knowing why. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My opinion, I guess. Opposite charge. Okay, I'm a regular guy off the street. You got all these positive and negatives. Why do they go together? Well, because positive and negatives attract. That's your answer. Again, I'm not saying that the electric universe people are all wrong. I'm saying is if you are trying to make these absolute arguments in the electrical universe, you're going to get in trouble. Oh, I got to remember that one. Name me one monopole thing, electric, magnetic, or otherwise. I couldn't yet find an electron and a proton are monopole. Monopole is coming from the system that we've invented, which is charge and positive and negative and electromagnetic fields and all that stuff. Because we don't have a model for it, we're in the world of mathematics and systems and not caring about the physicality. So we got to drop it. In the real world, monopoles don't exist. In the real world, poles don't exist. We can use a system that makes it sort of convenient to do stuff, but guess what? We get in a problem of trying to find monopoles and dipoles because we have no explanation for those in physicality. That is, until we have models that do that now. So. We have aka Debbie. Two things spinning in the same direction will repel each other. Two things spinning in opposite directions will move toward each other. Yes! Yonel Deneau, underwater experiments. Turns out that the actual physicality of that is not as easy as it seems. My dad and I have worked on that for over 2 years, 3 years now, and it took us a while, and it turns out to be a lot simpler. It's actually G2 gravity. That's the answer to it. It's not that difficult. When you have flows of particles together, it just keeps mass from bashing each other. It stays stable. That's all it means. And so there's more mass there, and G2, the G2 force, which is a strong nuclear force, keeps those things together, and that's why magnets are so strong. That's it. When they go in opposite directions, they hit each other. That's it. And they go away, there's less mass. If there's less mass, G2 force, which is gravity, just told you the answer. According, at least I think. Okay, it says here, so that's really great. Dipole make things spin. I'll be honest with you. Forces make things spin, and forces have to be a mass hitting another mass. I don't see, unless you have magic. There's no positive negative. Your mouth isn't a positive, and your number 2 isn't. Whoa. As it seems, a magnet is another trap. Again, you want to be careful about coming up with systems versus, what I call meta systems versus, the actual physicality. Again, our particle model has one purpose only, is to try to get the physicality of everything, what it really is in the end. So, wow, I got 12 people. Well, welcome people maybe on the other side. Oh, I just lost somebody. Maybe the EU people come in and then I say something not very maybe acceptable to people in EU. But again, folks, here's what I would say in electric universe, and I said it tonight, and I like that phrase. Basically, you don't want to go absolute with it because you're basing it on charge and electric fields. And until you describe what those are, and I'm not telling you that eventually they'll come along and they'll say, oh, Dave, you're right, electric fields are moving particles. And it's like, I sold your toe. I mean, I told you so. That's a Spoonerism I came up with when I was a kid. I sold your toe. So, losing some people. Went from 12, lost 3, came in, 3 out. So people are probably coming in and out. But anyways, it's getting late. My goodness, I've gone on for 2 hours, and I really don't need to do that more than that. So I really will hop off here. Greatly appreciated. I'm not here to offend. I am a huge supporter of the electric universe. I will look for a way to get there. Look for the way to hook up with them. I already have some of that. Not necessarily like my particle model or something like that, but I certainly am wanting to reach out to them, even though we have a history that had some problems. It really did, and it was more about the people, some specific people, than it was in general. So again, a great, absolute respect for the electric universe. I wish, sincerely, here's the way I'd put it. I would be happy if everybody in the world would subscribe to the electric universe today. Why? Well, because they've gone from 10 years ago not thinking Einstein was wrong for Einstein is wrong. They've been gone 10 years ago from saying that, well, Earth expansion really may not be happening. Well, it's probably happening, and a lot of other things. So they are critical thinkers. They're always trying to get better. So that's my take on it. I still think there's things there, that there's absolutes being said and things being based on that still don't have physicality. But who knows? They may come around on that as well. But I don't care, because they're critical thinkers. And I know there's a variety of people in that that they don't subscribe to everything. There's the ancient part of it. Some people subscribe to and some don't. Or do they have the right to do that? Absolutely. All of those things. So please, if you're from the electrical universe, do not get me wrong. I love the people there dearly, and the work that they do, and the critical thinkers. They are making thousands. I mean, they got what, over 100,000 subscribers to their channel. I don't know if I'll get there. Maybe, hopefully, but again, I want to thank everybody who subscribes, who comes here, who finds this worthwhile. Let other people know. If you have questions or something you even want me to talk about, I do have people send me those kinds of things. But I'm back. Hopefully my Fridays will continue to be open, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much, people. We will talk to you later. And again, this has been doing it through a different thing that's not the event. So hopefully this will all work and it gets recorded, because you can do it in two ways, which I guess you can do an event ahead of time, or you can just go hit live and let's go to it. So that's what this has been. So I'm going to stop streaming. Thank you very much. And I always say, don't believe anything I'm saying. Seriously, don't believe it. Read the books that I tell you, to read. Make your own mind up. Don't take my word for it. Stay critical always, and stay thinking. I'm David de Hilster, your science therapist, trying to get you to the promised land of being a critical thinker. And I can see a lot of people making progress in that. And I thank you so much, all you subscribers and those people who are new. Thank you so much. Spread the word. I'm going to be getting and doing more. I've got more plans coming along the way. Ciao for now, folks.